Hello, my name is Larry Dogra. Welcome to this Agency 100 videocast with PurpleLab. We have a terrific topic today. It is what do reality TV and GLP-1s have in common? And to discuss this with us, we have Issy Cohen, who is the solution engineer for advertising at PurpleLab. Issy, thanks so much for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you, Larry. Thanks for having me.
All right. So yeah, let's jump right into it. Obviously, we're going to be talking a little bit about influencer marketing, paid social, and everything that comes with it. Give us sort of the state of the union. Where are we right now for influencer and paid social healthcare advertising?
Yeah, so paid social advertising is such a dynamic space. And one thing that we're seeing, especially over the past couple of years, is this boom in influencer marketing, right? You see the word influencer a lot, but what does it mean? And for us, it really is a democratization of the celebrity into the influencer, right? Celebrity seems so far away from us, but influencers seem like someone I could run into on the street in my town, right? So we're seeing that boom of influencer marketing. And with social media marketing being so dynamic, we're seeing these different forms of media come into play. Specifically, we're really interested in how short form media is affecting the social space and with influencers as well.
Izzy, some of the things that we're talking about, when you have conversations with clients, with new clients, how have the tenor of those conversations changed? Are people on board with this, for lack of a more elegant way to put it?
Yeah, so we tell them you kind of have to be on board with it, right? If you want to stay up to date with the trends, we all know pop culture, this growing of the influencer, it changes so quickly. You have to be on top of it. And we're kind of going away from traditional media, television, email, newsletters, and really starting to see this deep dive into influencer marketing, paid social advertising. And so when we have conversations with clients, we tell them this should be a part of your strategy in some way or another, right? Don't exclude it, because if you exclude this particular type of advertising, you're going to be missing a whole new population or audience that you maybe wouldn't have gotten if you had done certain other types of marketing.
With the caveat that I'm sure this, varies wildly between organizations. Is that skepticism? Is it breaking down? What's the response that you get when you say, like, you got to do this? It's really not your choice.
Yeah, great question, right? And sometimes we are met with skepticism, but we try to position it as you need to have a really robust strategy. That doesn't mean going and finding an influencer and saying, I want you to do my, paid social advertising for a specific medication or drug, right? But what it does mean is understanding the landscape of influencer advertising. What are they talking about? Where are they engaging, right? Where are they, how are they engaging with their populations and audiences? And how that type of information can maybe lead a healthcare marketer to people that they may have not targeted before.
Right. To that end, how do you think, and again, you've touched on this a little bit, but how do you think social media has changed patient and provider interactions?
Yeah, I love talking about this because, in my opinion, it has opened up the conversation so much. Where we look at like a before influencer marketing and an after influencer marketing, or during, right? Because we're still in it. Before, there may have been this disconnect with the patient and the healthcare provider. The patient may have felt shame or guilt about bringing up maybe something that they're dealing with in their everyday lives. They don't have a community to talk about these things with. And so they feel like I'm the only one who may be dealing with this. And now with the growth of influencer marketing, we're seeing people with similar conditions or symptoms as us who maybe look like us or don't in different socioeconomic backgrounds, different states, different countries around the world, right? We have grown our community, and that has empowered the patient population to advocate for themselves to their physicians, where before it may have been sort of a blind trust where the patient would go to the doctor and the doctor would say, you need X, Y, and Z, and the patient maybe didn't question that. But now, with the growth of influencer marketing and doc talk, right, all of these really cool communities that are popping up because of influencer marketing, the patient feels like they can advocate for themselves and empowered to go into their physician or seek help for maybe something that they wouldn't have previously.
It goes from the physician as sort of the voice of God to the physician as someone that you can actually have an interaction with.
Yeah, exactly. And I do see that there is a change in the physician communication as well, right? The physicians know that their patients are feeling more empowered. And so they're more open to listen, specifically, with this growth of GLP-1s, and how GLP-1s and semaglutides, they're for diabetes and obesity, but we're seeing that they can help with other types of illnesses as well, in studies that have been done. And so the HCPs are seeing this switch to, oh, well, my patient is much more educated than maybe they were 10, 20 years ago. So we can have this conversation in more of a, one-to-one way instead of a, HCP to patient way where they're talking at them, they're talking with them.
Yeah. Better conversations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meanwhile, because nothing can ever be easy, obviously there's tons of flux in the space, bans potentially for TikTok, any
Yeah.
number of other regulations coming in. When you're talking to healthcare advertisers, how do you make sure that they're hitting the right audiences on the right platform? Is there a way around this? Is it just a field with a lot of landmines?
Yeah. Listen, I think the biggest thing here is to test. Testing is key, right? Especially with this growth of social media advertising and paid advertising, your audience is a lot more places than they may have been, in years prior. And so at the start of a campaign, let's say for a new drug, you have to test out a lot of different options, right? You have to test out Facebook, Meta, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, all of these different places because you may think that your patient population is in one place, but maybe they're in another place. And we hear about the TikTok ban, the max exodus from X, formerly Twitter, and sometimes we see healthcare marketers getting really nervous of, well, my campaign on TikTok was going really well or on X was going really well, and now there's this possibility that we're going to lose all of this. And I think they have to look at it in a different way, right? You're not losing it because now you know where your population or audience is engaging, right? You know how they act, you know what types of content are engaging for them and they're talking about. So you can use that learning and say, let's say TikTok does go away. It doesn't have to because now we have Instagram Reels, which is still short form video content, right? So don't think of it as a loss. Think of it as a really great strategic advantage.
You've learned something. Now you take that and you move it over somewhere else, or you evolve the
Exactly.
way on the same platform. That makes more sense now.
Exactly.
Right. To that end, there's also the challenge that comes with staying on top of pop culture.
Yeah.
It moves pretty quickly. It's not like,
Yes.
way back in the day where, Michael Jackson was the superstar of all superstars for what, half a decade. How
Yeah.
do you, if you're on, the advertiser side of this, how do you make sure you're staying abreast of the right trends and not just kind of saying like, well, this is the way it was. We're going to assume this is how it's going to be.
Yeah, I think in prior years, again, before this boom of influencer and paid social advertising, it was a lot of, well, this works, why change it, right? And now it's something may work for maybe a couple of weeks, a month, a couple of months, and then there's a shift. There's a new discussion. I like to use the GLP-1 and semaglutides for this because it really has evolved very quickly over the past year or so, right? First, the conversation was almost no conversation. And then we start seeing these people from reality TV and influencers start changing their bodies and their audiences realize this and they start asking questions. And then we find out that these medications have greatly helped these people, right? And so now there's a conversation surrounding them. And so what I would like to say to marketers is be where your audience is engaging, right? If they're engaging with an influencer or someone they trust on social media and they're talking about the benefits of these medications, how they've helped them, how it's changed their lifestyle and habits, take that information and run with it, right? If that's what they're talking about now, you have to be really quick and dynamic in this industry, because if you wait even a second too long, sometimes you've missed that. So one, you have to know where your audience is engaging. And then two, in order to do that, you have to be online. And I think one thing that's really important is the cross functionality of teams, where previously it may have been, the social media team and the advertising team and the traditional buying team, and they're all working in silos. Now they all kind of have to work together. We've seen a really strong growth of like content creators or content creation specialists within organizations. Use them to your advantage because they know where the trends are, what they are, how they're evolving. And if you're cross-functionally talking and you're talking to different teams, you can gain a lot of insights that maybe you didn't have if you were in that silo.
It's funny, over the course of that last answer, I picked out two words that you used, quick and dynamic, which are
Mhm.
sometimes words not necessarily associated with pharma advertisers.
Yeah.
When you help move them along that continuum and say like, hey, here's what the marketplace looks like right now. Is there ever any pushback? Or are there people like I think there was an expression once that, pharma, their job, if they get something that's 2% better, they win. That's fantastic. How do you
Yeah.
say like, listen, there's opportunity here. 2%, forget that. We're going 10, 15. We're going way
Yeah.
up here.
Yeah, we have seen a shift in how pharmaceutical marketers or pharma marketers, healthcare marketers are leaning into this dynamic environment. And I think it's less of pushback now and more of, well, how are we going to actually get that? How do we get there? And so they're asking us things like, well, where is our patient population? Where is our audience? Are we actually hitting them? And there's one thing that PurpleLab has that's audience quality. And it's something that is a dynamic measurement tool that you can use throughout the campaign to say, maybe you're testing different platforms and you come to us and you say, we want to understand if we're actually hitting those people. And we say, well, let's find out. And we take the audience that you have delivered media to and match them to de-identified patient IDs. And we can say, well, this percentage of people who have been diagnosed with diabetes is actually seeing this. And now you may think 10% is a small number, but if your audience is 20 million, that's a huge number, right? So there are now tools, and the industry is shifting to really stick with the dynamic nature of paid advertising.
It's funny, you started moving into talking a little bit about measurement, and that's always, one of the things that, especially in this economic climate, everybody wants to know what the ROI is. I know PurpleLab is obviously quite good at this, but what are some of the assurances that you can, beyond the ones that you've already spoken about, what are some of the assurances that you can give? Being like, listen, this is not just going to be like, we're going to try somebody, we're going to be out on social
Right.
media, and like, you'll know it works when we tell you it works. How do you make sure they're comfortable with
Yeah.
the data that's going to be coming back to them?
Yeah, so it's really interesting, right? Because the KPIs and performance metrics of a standard digital campaign are still relevant, right? Those don't go away even with the addition of certain measurement tools. You can use that information to inform strategies and alternative options for how you're going about your campaign, right? So one of the things that we have on our side is this measurement product, two measurement products actually. So PurpleLab has these two really great measurement tools, script lift and script measurement. And just like with audience quality, you can use these measurement tools throughout your campaign. So there's this shift from traditional media where you run the campaign, you get the insights, and then at the end of the campaign, you've already spent your money, you haven't reached one singular person who you intended to reach, right? And now with paid advertising, it switches to a little bit more, again, dynamic operation where you can continuously optimize during your campaign. And then to take that a step further with script lift and script metrics, you can see almost in real time how your media is affecting prescription writing behavior, right? Are people actually taking this drug? Are they interested? Is there HCP buy-in, right? So you're looking at the HCP side and the DTC side, which in coordination is an extremely powerful strategy.
All right. All right, I have two more questions for you. The first
Yeah.
one is sort of the quick hit takeaways. We've been talking for a good 15, 20 minutes now. What are the most important things? You're watching this, you're a little bit hesitant about social media, you're hesitant about the measurement piece of it. What are the most important things to remember from this?
Yeah, I think there's three things, and the pharma world loves an acronym. So I've taken it upon myself to create my own, which is TOD, our good friend Todd. And so the first T in Todd is targeting, right? Know where your audience is. Use audience quality. Use measurement tools to understand if you're hitting those people, right? The second is online or be online. You have to be where your audience is. If you're not going to understand them. You really have to get a good understanding and knowledge of how your audience is engaging, right, online. Where are they? And all of these things together, being online, that knowledge will allow you to create a really nice, robust strategy. And then the D is maybe you can think of what I'm going to say, but it's dynamic, right? A word we've been using this whole call. And you have to be dynamic, right? Paid advertising and media in general changes so quickly.
Yes.
And if we stay stagnant, then you're going to miss out on potential opportunities, potential audiences. Even if you're looking at it from an HCP side, you may miss out on some of those people as well. So you have to stay dynamic. You have to be online, and all of that together. I think if you remember those three things, so targeting, being online, and being dynamic, I think you're set up for success.
Last question for you, and of course, it's an impossible one given the pace of change in this particular space, but we're having this conversation again a year from now. What are some of the things you're looking at as potential changes, things that might evolve, things that might happen differently?
Yeah, great question. We're seeing a really rapid adoption of measurement products, right? And not just measurement products at the end of a campaign, but during the campaign. And this switch is, in my opinion, really going to accelerate growth and knowledge for the companies that use them, right? The more tools you have at your disposal, the better your strategy can be, the more dynamic you can be, the more nimble you can be, right? And that's really what we're looking for with paid social advertising, influencer marketing, all the good stuff that happens online, right? You need to be able to say very quickly, this is working or this isn't, and change just kind of at a moment's notice. And so the adoption of these tools has really allowed healthcare marketers to see that the change is happening and that they need to adapt very quickly.
It's got to be fun working in this space, right? It melds so many
Yeah,
different things together, and you get to help people. This is good.
exactly. Listen, you can find me maybe as an influencer in a year. That's where I'll be in a year. And then we'll have a different conversation, right? But
Absolutely,
it is, it's
and it's going to cost us a lot more, right?
yeah, yeah. Listen, it's so great being in the pharma and healthcare space and being in the advertising space. Melding those together is really such a great opportunity, right? Because you are helping people. You are gaining knowledge of things that maybe you weren't knowledgeable or didn't know about before. And so there's just a world of opportunity out there.
Izzy, this was wonderful. Many thanks to you and
Awesome.
to PurpleLab
Thank
for
you.
MM+M's Agency 100 videocast. This is Larry Dobrow. Many thanks for watching.
Thank you.